y'all. I am Kristen Live, and I am a former toxic girl.
Hi, Kristen. My name is Dee Dee, and I am a recovering toxaholic.
Hi, Dee Dee.
And I'm Aisha, and I am also a recovering toxaholic and trying to do better every day.
Hi,
Hello, Aisha.
Hey, guys.
And this is the Toxics Anonymous podcast. We are a support group for those that may have lived a toxic lifestyle in the past and no longer want to live that way. So we are working to become better human beings every single day.
Agreed.
Amen to that.
And to help y'all do the same. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. We're going to start with a little icebreaker. So usually we start with toxic tales. But since we already told our toxic tales on episode 1, let's just talk about like maybe a toxic backslide we might have had in the past, I don't know, couple months or so.
I had one I called you for, but I can't remember. My moments be so short-lived. Like, I could be like, ooh, that got me effed up. And then, like, once I let it out and I do what I got to do, I'm good. I'd be like, your problem now.
Mine is always going to be dealing with people in comment sections. I have to stop myself and figure out why a particular thing is triggering me. And this week in particular, somebody said something that they thought they knew about my past, and it was totally unrelated to what I was responding to. It was on a whole different page, not even mine. And I said something that was completely normal, and then they were like, girl, you just mad because da-da-da, like they knew me. Like, you just mad and you're bitter because of this. And it was like totally unrelated to anything that I said.
That was probably the person in your past making a fake page.
Nah, it was probably somebody. There were a lot of people who follow you because they're looking for your downfall. They're looking for any little bad thing, and then they just wait for the opportunity to jump in and tear you down. Usually you don't really give them much opportunity to do that, but if you state your comment someplace and they might disagree with that comment, that's where they feel empowered to be like, now's my chance. I follow her. Because I went to her page. Of course, she follows me. Here we are on a random page that has nothing to do with either one of us. But I knew that she saw my comment because she follows me. So it took everything in me to recognize I don't have to give my attention to just anyone who's begging for it. And that's all it is. It's someone begging for your attention and they're waiting for you to slip up. But I did slip up.
So what was your response? Because
I can't talk about it. But my response actually was really good. But I did mess up in my DMs. There was a situation with a mother. So there's a situation, and I'm very sensitive about that. There's a situation with this mother's group that I follow. There was a woman, a stepmother, who was posting how they were tricking his ex's baby mom. I guess he had a child before they were together, and she lives in London. And actually, this is really good. I hope we put this episode out in time. So if you're watching this, beware. She was on Facebook, and in a group, she said that they were plotting to take custody of the child. Not because there was any issue with the mother, but she was tired of her husband traveling back and forth to London to see the kid. The lady didn't let her husband know that she was pregnant. So he didn't meet the kid until they were 2. He was 2. She was 2. Now the little girl is 6 years old, and the mom is agreeing to amicably come back to the U.S. so that she can meet her half brothers and sisters and be around family. What they don't know is that they're going to serve her with papers when she gets here and steal the child because they said that there's no reason for her to live in the UK. Now this child has only ever known her mother. That's all the child knows is her mother. They don't even in foster care situations want children to be with different primary caregivers. That's her primary caregiver. However you feel about the father, however you feel about the mother, if it was shady for her to live over there and not tell the dad, it doesn't matter. This is a stepmom who is weaponizing the court system against the mother, probably because she's bitter and upset. But this is what we don't do. They usually say that a lot of these rights movements are run by stepmothers because these are women who might feel, not that there aren't amazing stepmothers, but there are a lot of women who will have a distaste for someone's ex and then just cause all these problems. But they were planning to steal the child and imagine this child only knows London. She only knows her mother. That's all she knows. She's 6 years old. And now you're going to just take her thinking she's just going on a visit and never give her back. And then make the mom have to stay here to fight for custody of the child she's had for 6 years. Instead of just trying to work something out amicably as adults, so you're going to steal someone else's child. So somebody came, I was warning people about it on my social media.
What they already have.
Respecting what they already have. And then her saying, and I'm just so happy because now she's going to get to live with us and my husband's going to get to be a father to her. And it's like, That's not the best interest of the child. And if you really cared about the child, you wouldn't do that. That's you just probably not wanting your husband having to go back and forth to the UK or having to be around that woman.
Right.
That's not the best interest of a child. You don't pull a child from their primary caregiver and then imagine she's like, I can't go back to my mom. Well, why can't I see my mom? The mom doesn't have any issues with drugs, isn't that she literally just said, we think it's unfair that she lives over there. And that's her whole reason. So my toxic thing was somebody DM'd me and said, well, how do you know that the mom isn't on drugs? And how do you know that the mom isn't a problem? And you really shouldn't be warning people because we're all trying to warn. And I was like, wait a minute, like, how dare you come here and question what I put up? And what has misogyny done to women that we are so anti-women that we're not even going to believe what someone just said? She just said the reason is she doesn't want her husband to travel. So it was, and me, I was like, shut the fuck up, bitch. Like, you know, how dare you? I was like, you're disgusting. That's a gross comment. And it was DMs. It wasn't public. But I in my head, I lost it because it made me feel upset that somebody A, tries to come on your page to tell you what to do, and that B, that women, we don't stick up for other women. Like, imagine someone come and steal your child that you've raised for 6 years and then try to put false accusations about, well, maybe she's a bad mother. Excuse me?
So, I mean, I might be toxic for saying this, but I'm a firm believer in don't draw a target around yourself and expect not to get shot at. So her coming, at you.
Looking for something.
Right.
Like looking for a reason.
Seeking you shall find.
However, it was wrong of me because ultimately I had to remember that was her projection and it was me slipping up. But I learned from it and I was just like, you know what? You haven't done this in a long time. Don't start now. She was like, I've seen your true colors. Okay, bitch. All right. You win.
So what would you say to that person in hindsight?
Probably, I'm sorry that you feel that way. If you would go back to read the post, you'd clearly state, well, I did say those things, but then I added, shut up, bitch, at the end.
Yeah. That does really irk me though, when like something's so clearly stated in like a caption or something, and then you have somebody that's like,
it was just upsetting because as a mother, that's someone's motherhood you're trying to steal from them, and what's happening is people are trying to warn. If you were a woman that lived in California and you moved to the UK and you happen to see this, your husband's wife is trying to steal your kid, and that was what we were trying to get out there because she has no idea she's coming back to a trap. And that's a very dishonest way of going about something that should be set out in the best. Maybe you could work it out that she comes there for the summers. Maybe you could work it out, but just to steal someone's child. It's so hard
when you talk about, these unique family models. It's so funny because I was just talking about that with you in regard to the whole, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. And you have so many people who aren't supportive of that village mentality because working with that woman would have been like, and she brought herself and personally FedExed her daughter.
Yeah, she's coming. She's planning to, she's trying to work with them.
So she's working with them. And now you got opposition from somebody in the appearance, masked as acceptance and a warm invite. You're inviting this person to entrap them.
Well, that's literally what we were talking about today, Chris. And Didi and I were having this whole conversation about why we're seeing so many toxic takes on podcasts that then get pushed into the mainstream, and we only get see these little bits and takes, and we may not see the whole conversation, but then they end up on a blog. And one of them was kind of like what we were talking about. It said something about why should a man still do things for their baby mother? It should only be for the child. And there was another one that was out there saying men who take care of other people's children are weak. And that ended up being like a big, because a podcaster, some girl this past week or a week ago said on a podcast, I think as a matter of fact that men who take care of other people's children are weak. And that caused a big stir. I mean, the thing is, are these podcasts and these podcasters and the accessibility, this is even including ourselves, the accountability that we have, are you doing good with it or are you doing bad? Are you trying to make a positive impact or are you trying to cause confusion and dysfunction? And I think a lot of these podcasts, reality shows, all these things are actually causing a lot of divisiveness versus ways for us to come together and ways for us to have solutions to problems. But instead we're out here not working together, making people hate everyone else's decisions.
The masses are drawn to toxicity, So if we're spitting, positive messages on, how to, have agreeable living situations with someone and coexisting in peace.
Ain't nobody trying to hear that.
Exactly. That's not going to be as sensationalized as someone saying, you a simp if, what I'm saying?
And it is scary. I can tell you exactly what my friends went through on Love and Hip Hop. It was like they were claiming, VH1 was saying, oh, we're going to be so positive this time around and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And then honestly speaking, their experience on there was not that. Like they did hours and hours of filming, hundreds of hours of filming of happy content, but only to be edited down into making it look like they're so unhappy in their relationship and that she's typecasted as some kind of like whiny brat. And it was like, no, instead of taking the positives out of the relationship of how they worked, not to say some of it wasn't shown, but I think there's just so much money to be made from chaos.
Yeah,
that is
there's so
true.
much money to be made from chaos that people, it's like, and
what
maybe it's
positive reality shows do you
maybe
see?
People's lives are so empty that they have to. It feels like
here's
a good
the
distraction.
truth, and here's the reason why. So it's about relatability, right? And you can only relate to what you are. So the fact that this type of programming is circulated so heavily in general means that there's a big majority of people that are actually relating to these kind of scenarios.
I disagree. I don't even think that's the case.
No, this is like a proven thing, because you might not agree. You might say it doesn't work for me. But I'm saying that the overall audience is showing you that this is what people
I have
are
a question for our producer. Did you watch Tiger King during the pandemic when everybody was watching Tiger King? Yes. Okay, most people had. Can anybody relate to having a fucking tiger and a beef with Carol Baskins? And
no, it's not about having a tiger. It's the personality behind who had the tiger and the hate between I hate Carol Baskin and whatever. Like I can relate to that because I have anger and I have
enemies at work.
You see what I mean?
Like
that's what I'm saying.
Down the
it's
hall.
relatable.
It's just a rivalry. It's somebody who doesn't like someone else, and I think we can all relate to that. The point is, we can relate to positive things too, but why is it that we take so quickly to the things that cause chaos? Why is that what we focus on?
So fast?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Because I don't see people sharing positive
as much.
It's just not.
I'm seeing a little bit of it now. I'm liking that, like the positive Black love movement that I'm seeing. I'm loving to see those hashtags where you're seeing.
I love.
Yeah. I like
that's been around forever, though. That's what I'm saying.
It's been around.
There's so much positive content that has been going around forever. But whatever is on your timeline is what you're interacting with. So if you're interacting with negative posts and things that are like you're saying to yourself like, oh my God, I can't believe this, but you're sitting there reading it and you're sitting there engaging in the comments, and guess what? It's gonna be all over your timeline. Right. So that's why I'm saying we have to look at our level of consciousness and where we're at, because that's the type of content that we're going to be feeding into and supporting, whether we want it to be supported or not. So these podcasts that we say, they not everybody should have a microphone. These people are putting out a terrible message. This music, it's a terrible message, but we're still playing it. We're still reacting to it. So we have a responsibility in that. And that's what I wanted to say, that the level of consciousness that you're at will show you how relatable your content is. So people like Andrew Tate, there was a video that came out on social media and it was saying, why is he such a prominent figure? He blew up very quickly. And why? There's so many men that feel like they look up to him. And they explained the level of consciousness pyramid. And it starts like this. So I actually have it right here. So at the top, obviously, you have like your absolute self-realization. And that's your full consciousness. At the bottom, you have shame. So it goes shame, guilt,
in there,
apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, inner light, inner wisdom, inner love, oneness, presence, non-duality, awareness, the great void, the divine grace and love union, supra, casual truth, and then full consciousness. So where do you think that you fall in that level of consciousness? Andrew Tate falls at pride. He's constantly like, I'm proud.
I have this. I own
alpha
this.
male
Materialism.
You're right. Exactly.
What color is your Bugatti?
Yeah. It's all like this self-conscious, vibe or whatever. And then take pride in being an alpha male. So that means anybody that falls below that is going to really be able to relate to him. Mm-hmm. They can't relate to somebody that's full consciousness because it's so far on
away
that
from where
pyramid.
they're already at. Right.
It's so far away. So the people that are struggling with anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, and guilt and shame, they can relate to that pride level more than they could relate to something higher.
That's a good visual aid.
It is a good visual aid. I think why a lot of young boys relate to that is because they're searching, and we collectively as a society have done a disservice to little boys from the time that they're born by encouraging them to repress some of their emotions that we deem as too feminine. So we're out here telling them how to be a man. This is how you be a man. You have to be masculine. Masculinity has many different definitions. There are some kids that are going to be computer programmers that aren't going to be super jock like football players. That doesn't make that kid any less masculine than it makes this other kid. However, we have this warped sense of masculinity that we're pushing onto little boys. There's a great documentary, and I think it's called The Mask They Live In, and it follows young boys from the time they're little. I mean, they've done psychology tests where they've dressed a little girl up, a baby, in pink, and then they've also put her in blue. And then they've given them to different, and the way, oh, you're so beautiful and precious. People talk more to little girls than they do boys. And we know girls come into kindergarten with double the vocabulary as little boys. We read more to little girls. We focus more on whole language development with little girls. With little boys, we're like play fight and do this and be tough. And then also repress your emotions. Don't be a bitch. Don't be a pussy. Don't be a little girl. You hit like a girl. You play like a girl. You cry like a girl. You a crybaby. So now all these little boys are feeling is the only emotions that are respected. Anger, jealousy, rage. Pride. Those are the things, pride. Those are the things that they can relate to. And so when we talk about violence against women,
and the bad emotions too.
And the bad emotions,
shame and guilt come along with that, because when they start feeling like they're exemplifying these girly emotions, guess what? They're ashamed.
Now they're ashamed. And so you're right. The Andrew Tates and the people like that are self-help gurus and teaching little boys how to be men, how to be masculine. So if they haven't had a positive example of that, and a father, grandfather role that can say, hey, listen, these are all okay things to be. Like, one thing I love about like men who are fathers, my husband included. I'll tell you who is a great example. Ace Hood. Ace Hood has a son, Junior. He literally will tell him, it's okay to cry. Tell me how you feel. That's important. And it lets you let it out. That's okay. This is all part of growing up. That is so important for you to have a male figure that's not going to shame you about your emotions. Have teachers that won't shame you. So right now, all I'm saying is that we have a lot of the issue that we're having in society now isn't just that we have a gun issue. We have a rage issue. Yeah. And that issue is we have a boy issue, a male issue, because who's creating most of this chaos? Boys. Who has most of violent crime in the United States? Little boys. And we all have a role to play in that. Yeah. If we've ever shamed a little boy, even if we talk to a grown man, he being such a bitch. Like, look at him crying over there like a pussy. We all play into that because we're all perpetuating that same stereotype. Totally. That's then causing violence against women. Right. Because we're not teaching gender equality. We're not teaching little girls that you can be everything a boy can be. And look, these girls are just as good as you. We're not doing that. Right. We're already coming up with this unequal thing, which is making the boys look down on women, which makes you think you can go rape somebody, which makes you think you're entitled to their body, which makes you think you can sexualize everybody, which makes you think that you can kill somebody if you don't get their number. Yeah. And this is where it's happening. We're teaching this entitlement and this rage and this that we all have a part in this. And I think podcasts, like you're saying, we all have a role to play to make sure that we're countering some of that toxicity that we're seeing.
Exactly. I think a lot of it could be alleviated through the ability to communicate. And I feel like parents aren't equipping their kids to, and I love how you parent your kids because you make sure that they know those feeling words, you know, like, oh, you have big feelings right now. Like, what are they? Because if a child comes to my classroom and they tell me I'm feeling sad today, guess what? I know what to expect out of a sad kid. And I'm not going to sit there and be like, all right, you got to be in this group and nah, like you're not equipped for that today. You know, like as teachers, we have kids who are dealing with things. And even if a kid doesn't want to share that with me, if they just share the emotion and can identify with that emotion, because a lot of kids not only can't process it, but can't put it to words, or they're ashamed of putting it to words, or some of them don't have the words, you know?
It comes out as irritability too. Depression, the first sign of sadness is actually irritability. It's not sadness. We don't always say, this kid looks sad, or tell me you're sad. No, they're out here knocking over desks and knocking stuff over and pushing
only
people.
Because
they haven't figured out a way to process.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, effective teachers, as you know, they have visual charts. Like we have face charts where you'll see the happy face, the anxious face, and if a kid can't put the words to it, you have to explain to them. And I feel like, honestly speaking, I remember there was this viral toy that was on TikTok, and it's like an octopus that you can turn it one way or another way, and it's multicolored. So like it was being used and circulated in a warning state for relationships. So, you know,
I never saw this.
Oh my gosh, it was viral. Like you know what I'm talking about? It's like a little octopus. Anyways, we're gonna have videos of it, but it was like viral on TikTok. And basically, like if you're my man or my girl or whatever, and I'm feeling like I don't want to be bothered, I just turn the octopus the color that you know, like what that means, or like you indicate, you assign roles to whatever colors, you know. And I just feel like those things aren't just useful for children, because you know we all have signal things when it comes to kids, but with men, we start to think, oh, you know, men, we don't talk, you know, like
they suppress everything.
It's not even, it's societal too, because men no longer, remember back in the day, we'd be on the phone till we fall asleep. You know what I'm saying? Like we used to be baking and caking, you know, but now it's text.
Yeah.
Everything is, you know, for the sake of brevity. Yeah. So you no longer have that connection anymore that we once had. You know, so now when it comes down to, you know, the way men are communicating and the way men are expressing, men aren't as expressive as they used to be. You don't see nobody crying out in the rain for you when they get their feelings hurt. They be like, I ain't want that bitch anyway.
Right. That defense mechanism. Maybe it's because now I think, again, it all comes down to, we used to be able to do things in private. Now nothing's private anymore. So maybe they don't want to get played on a public level. Look at like how little, like you get played in high school back in the day. It was like, all right, you got played in middle school. You take it on the chin. Now it's like, I'm sure they text airdropping all the kids, though. You see how such and such played such and such?
Yeah.
I think everything is
Ain't nobody trying to get embarrassed.
Everyone has a spotlight on them now in their own little world. And that spotlight can be very intimidating for people who would like to express themselves, but maybe they don't want everyone in their business. So
that's
I think
crazy, the fact that everyone has a platform.
Everyone has a platform.
Everyone has a voice, no matter how big or small. And that's why we all could do something positive or negative, you know? Like, and I don't know.
But how do we regulate? Like, okay, because we have a platform too. We started a podcast, so I'm sure there's some people that don't like us having mics in front of our face, but here we are. So, I mean, luckily...
If you don't want us to have a mic, that means you toxic.
But yeah, so here we are. And luckily for you guys viewing, we take having a platform very seriously. You know, we got together, and when we created the Toxic Anonymous podcast, the whole point was we didn't want to be a toxic podcast. We wanted to be very progressive and provide solutions and talk about these issues that maybe other people are touching on, but we didn't feel like they were doing it justice. So that's why we're here. But not everybody else wants that. Everybody else might want the clicks and, you know, the publicity that a podcast might bring. So they are being irresponsible on purpose, and that's so dangerous. So it's like, how do you determine the success of programming based off of, you know, what you think that you need to be watching and what you enjoy watching? Because what you enjoy might not be what is good for you.
Yeah.
I remember,
like those chips y'all were eating.
Right. You know, this brings me to a beautiful point. I remember when Oprah Winfrey I'm a big Oprah fan. Okay. And I remember when she was first starting out, and this was the time where her hugest, biggest rivalries were all the toxic talk shows where you are not the father and you are, you know what I'm
Jerry
saying?
Springer.
So this is what she was competing with. So when she entered, she was doing the same thing. And then one day she had to tell this girl, you know, this young lady that, you know, her man was sleeping with her best friend and was like, how do you feel? And the woman was mortified. I mean, crying. And I've watched Oprah a lot of times in live, and she's one of my favorite. I got chills just talking about it. And she was like, after that feeling, I decided I would never do that again. We're not talking about those Jerry Springer people or, you know, anymore. Now Oprah is a billionaire.
Right.
This woman,
she rose above.
She changed her lane.
Yeah.
Okay. And what she decided to do is, no, like, I'm going to talk about things I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
You know, self-care, self-help. Because the thing is, she was a hurt person before, and she was like, this is not what I needed. Because it was making her feel even lower than she was feeling at the time.
Yeah.
You know, she was someone that came from abuse and, you know,
rape.
her body. Exactly. So when she decided, like, no, I want to bring healing into the world, you know, I feel like we all have things that we're passionate about, you know, individually. Like, I'm passionate about education and, you know, child development. You know, you're passionate about DV, child development. You know, alcohol abuse, substance abuse, you know, healthy relationships. We all have things that we're so passionate about. And some people are passionate about things, but don't know how to get the good attention. So they focus on getting bad attention.
Any attention. That's what it is. It's just any attention. And they're throwing pasta against the wall to see what sticks half of the time. So with social media, it's very much trial and error. You're like, oh, well, I posted this, but the algorithm didn't really do well. So maybe I should go back to this kind of content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, like, women do it a lot with, like, their pictures. Like, oh, well, only my bikini pictures are, you know, getting attention. So I'm just going to post bikini pictures. And then before you know it, you're a bikini model. And that's it. Right. You're just a male audience. So
because the reward comes from those other things, and that reward translates to money for some people. So it's
exactly. So you have to make a decision as a public person or as a content creator, influencer, whatever. You have to make that decision and say, well,
is all money good money? Is all attention good attention?
Yeah. And do I want to do it the hard way?
Yeah.
The long way? Or do I just want to do it and whatever works?
No, you see, what's her name? Nicole Bitchy. Remember she had that? Nicole, was it? She has
yeah, like the
Nicole
Perez
now.
Hilton.
She's changed over. Yep. She changed over completely.
Nicole Richie?
No.
Like, it's like a blog. Like Perez Hilton had
her name was, and now I think it's XO Nicole. It's a blog, but it's focused on more positivity. She walked away from the gossip blog lane and moved into self-care and all of those things, which I do think, but it's true. You can do it all in microwaves. Like for me with my page, I turn down advertising for something that doesn't align.
Yeah,
I could be making so much more money
than
I have. I just have turned down all the things that I know wouldn't align with.
Same.
Even if it's just food, a certain type of food, I'm like, I'm not going to eat that or drink that. Like, why would I tell these people who might be spending their last dollar to go buy something that I don't even believe in?
Absolutely.
It's not honest. It's not right. Same thing with the toxicity that we promote. We can just say, hey, look, the line stops here. Like, we don't have to buy into this. We don't have to repost every sensational thing that's going to get you clicks and views. Instead, like, we can focus on, I know that I've lost a ton of followers when I switched over more to talking about domestic violence and talking about men's violence against women, and made people, oh, she hates men. I love men. Like, that's the furthest thing to do. I love men so much that I want men to do better.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't like this divisiveness that we're seeing now in podcasts that are pitting men against women, especially in the Black community. We need men and women. We're both needed. We're all needed. We need each other in this fight. We need men to be feminists. We need men to be on our side and stand up. So this is
just like they need
us.
Women like us to advocate for men being in their authentic selves and not getting clowned for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not being called simps because, you know, they're nice to women or whatever. You know, like, fellas, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be rejected every now and then. You know, we all are. You know what I mean? It's okay.
And we have to be also the type of woman that would, like you say, steel sharpen steel. We have to be talking to our younger sisters saying, hey, it's not okay to demand a Birkin bag from a man on a first date. It's not okay for men to feel used. This is putting men in an extremely vulnerable position to feel like, well, if I don't have this, I'm not worth anything. So we have to stop that talk too, making men feel that the only definition of masculinity is to be, and not just a provider, because men can be providers, but to be a provider to someone they don't even know, to pay all your bills and they've never met you. Who do you think you are? So women, we have to be accountable and be checking other women, especially the young girls who are coming, 6th graders, 7th graders. They listen to this music and these girls are thinking, oh yeah, well, if this man ain't gonna do this for me, then he's not worth nothing. He's a bitch. He's a pussy. No, we got to start checking our daughters and raising them to be like, hey, listen, that's not all men are good for is what they can provide to you. That's not what men are put here for, is just to be your servant. That's not. They have their own interests, their own desires, and their money is not your money. You know what I mean? Your man, your husband, it's a different situation, however you work it out. But you know what I'm talking about. These first date expectations.
It's sad because the generation that's coming up, I don't feel like there's as much adult influence, you know?
And why?
We don't have, well, because of accessibility to social media, like kids are spending more time with their devices. Like we had Trina back in our day, you know what I'm saying? But we didn't internalize it. Like we knew music was just.
We weren't about to fuck her 5 or 6 best friends.
Right, exactly. You know, like.
Excuse me?
I didn't even realize the lyrics. Like I was just kind of like bopping along.
But these kids are internalizing things because they don't have role models, and their parents are also in social media and focused on everything but what's going on now. And I feel like it's so much harder to raise a child now because there's so many distractions.
There are.
I can't imagine having been raised in the generation that we're being raised in right now. Like being able to focus with
imagine having phones
having
in school,
a phone
in middle school,
at your disposal at all times. You know what I'm saying? And the things that are happening in the schools and in the classroom, it's like mind blowing when you think about all the adult topics that these kids are exposed to.
Yeah. So even with this 24-hour news cycle that kids are exposed to, I think one of the problems, the toxicity in that is that it's not for their development. Like there should be, just like how, you know, certain shows are meant for this level of understanding. A 5-year-old shouldn't be sitting in a rated R show because they don't know the difference between reality and fiction. But now you're being told this person's being bombed. There was this earthquake here. There's this person that got stabbed. Children should not be ingesting all of that information. So it's not just that. It's not just what they're ingesting, it's the quantity and how often it is. We were able to turn stuff off at the end of the day. Now it's just it's ongoing, and that creates a desensitization to certain things, and that could include violence that you're witnessing in the news. You get desensitized. The more a kid plays a video game, the more desensitized it is. They become to it. So I think when you were saying about parents allowing kids on devices, that's a big thing. But I think that not today, but a later episode, we might talk about the systemic issues we're having now with parents not being paid living wages and how that impacts their ability to parent because they're out at work so often. Or now, you know, as a teacher, you need 2 jobs just to survive in Florida. You can't just go home as a teacher and be like, well, that's all, because you don't make enough to pay the rent. How can you make $3,500, $3,500 a month and your rent is $3,500 a month?
Yeah, that's definitely a whole nother episode.
It's a whole nother episode, but what I mean
is
so much to unpack. It's so much to unpack, but a lot of the reasons why we're having issues with our children is that we don't have parents at home to parent them.
Right.
And why don't we? Some of it, yes, irresponsibility, but some of it is systemic and some of it is, you know.
A lot of it is systemic.
So I do think that that's something we come back to, but I'm
excited to come
the
back
bottom
to that.
line
No, I'm like, wait a second, hold on.
There's a lot of,
that is what I know.
Let's write that down.
Right.
There's so much responsibility in having a platform.
Yeah.
There's so much responsibility in what we allow our children to ingest and what we are also ingesting and talking to our kids about. So again, it just all comes down to responsibility and us all doing better. And that's what we're here to do.
Exactly.
To be better, to do better.
So switching gears, we're going to end with our last and final segment, Toxic or Not Toxic. This is where we take a song and we decide whether it's Toxic or not toxic, easy enough, right? Okay, so today on the chopping block we have Blue Cantrell's Hit 'Em Up Style. So
I don't remember the lyrics to that.
Hey ladies,
we all pull it
if your
up.
man wanna get back wild,
Just go back and hit 'em up style.
so that was a good one. All right, so
All right, so wait, where's your phone?
Is she talking about domestic violence?
No.
quite contrary. She's talking about
I don't
financial
remember.
abuse.
Okay.
Hit 'em up style.
So
Wait, I
we'll
gotta
sing
pull
a
it
little
up.
bit.
It's called Hit 'Em Up
I
Style.
can't believe
Hit 'em
that
up style, yeah.
Hit
You see, you're not prepared
I
for today's
found it.
episode. You were
Wow. This is very toxic.
You think so?
Very.
So we don't even got to get into it.
Well, let's say, while he was scheming, I was beaming in the beamer, just beaming. Can't believe that I caught my man cheating. So I found another way to make him pay for it all. So I went to Neiman Marcus on a shopping spree. And on the way I grabbed Sully and Mia.
That is toxic because on the Apple Music,
But and as the
So-
cash box rang, I thought everything away. So
yeah,
you just forgot about it because he bought you some stuff?
No, that's not what she's saying.
Yes, it is. And as the cash box rang, I thought everything away.
No, she's buying herself.
Oh.
She's
right.
at Neiman Marcus on a shopping
with
spree.
his credit card.
Yeah.
Right.
So is she not saying that? She said, I found a way to make him pay for it.
Right, but
Yeah.
she has a card.
Yeah.
It's not him buying it. It's her
So
buying
you're
it
saying
with
she
his money.
stole.
She stole his card. Oops. She stole his card. She grabbed Soleil and Mia, her
There
girls,
goes
and
the
now
Oh, so
they're
she
on a
didn't have
shopping.
permission.
No.
There goes the time we spent away.
I feel so
there
slow
goes
right
the
now.
So
love
basically,
I
she
had,
knows she's throwing the
but you
relationship
cheated
down the
on
road.
me,
Right.
and that was that. I mean,
She said,
This was before people get them alerts on their phones about
Right,
about
This is
charges.
way before that.
Hold
yeah.
up, my what, you put what on my card? Like,
so honestly speaking, I feel like it's not toxic because no, this is why I feel like it's not.
How
toxic.
did I know that Dee Dee was gonna say
This is why,
not toxic?
because honestly speaking, I know that as women we put so much into relationships and so much care, and you know how when you think that this is going to be your life partner and you try to save the money and you're like, oh, we don't have to go out to the restaurant, we can cook. And by we, I mean I'm cooking, and
Bro,
you
the
know,
way
like
she's
you're
trying
saving
to
the money.
justify this.
No, but
is
look,
so
no,
toxic.
no,
wait,
you
hear
talking about
me
my
out, hear
former
me out.
life. You remember? We can't
So,
talk about it,
Just
but
think about
all the
how,
things.
Right. Think about how much money we invest, time into our, like, we're being robbed emotionally and similarly, like, financially as well.
So since we're being robbed, I'm gonna rob him.
I just feel like reciprocity at this point, it's no win. You know what I'm saying? So, like, seriously, energetically, I got to get my lick back. No, I'm just saying, like, energetically,
We just talked about being responsible with our platform and
we
you know
are responsible.
putting out the right
Okay, so,
message
here's
and
my
not
take
putting
on
out the
that.
message that we need Birkins.
Right.
And here comes
I
Dee
don't
Dee.
need a Birkin, but I need you to not
She's like,
play
I
on
need
my
my-
top because let me tell you something. You're
But
going to
you
have to
don't
learn your, you
but you
got
need
to
to
learn a
grab
lesson.
Soleil and Mia
Listen,
so that
and
she
I
can go
will
on the
take
shopping
y'all to,
spree.
and I call Wifey and Christia. I got to change your name, sis. I'm sorry.
funny.
Why couldn't
No.
it be wifey?
Wifey.
Right. No, that's
So it's, I mean, honestly speaking, I feel like fair is fair. You know what I'm saying? And when a man
Girl.
knows that he's dead wrong, he knows that there needs to be some form of payment.
Girl, you are
I don't
insane right now. Like
and it's not even right. Like at the end of the day, take that up with your American Express or whatever, because it's above me now. Like you, like it's not even really affect. They gonna give
what are
you
we
back
gonna do
that
with
money.
her? What
I
are
don't
we
know
gonna
what
do
we're
with
gonna
her?
do with you.
I don't know.
Okay, so here's my take that's sort of in the middle.
Okay.
Which is we don't steal from people. That's wrong.
We don't, but if she had possession of the card initially, she had ability to use it. She just decided to. Now that I know you're a cheating, lying,
But I
that
feel
dirty
like in the lyrics
scumbag.
she said take every last dime. It's
Yeah,
somewhere
but,
in there.
But you know what? Now
Yeah,
that there's
spend
I
no
want to
love,
know.
last
I want to
dime.
know. Are they married?
Okay, so that was what I was going to get at. Now,
Yeah. Because if they're married, it's their card.
Not totally unrelated. But I do believe in situations where a woman is a homemaker, the stay-at-home mom. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I believe since you're giving up your working years to be that wife, to provider, to be like the homemaking provider, the caretaker, you should be being paid. there should be your husband's salary is now your salary as well, because he wouldn't be able to have that salary without your dedicating your labor to the home. Mm-hmm. And also you're giving up your working years, and now you're probably pretty much basically unemployable, or you'd be at the very, like, let's say you were 20 when you got married and now you're 45 and you've lost, 25 years of work experience. Yeah. So now you're down here. So I do believe that these are things that should be worked out prior, so that you aren't ever left with nothing. And in case somebody cheats, or in case those are prenuptial agreements that should be had, where it's like, hey, listen, I'm not going to be left out to dry because I've dedicated my entire life for you. Right. And just because I wasn't necessarily shooting in the gym, I was at home making sure that everything was taken care of, which was our agreement. Yeah. So in those situations, I believe that you should get it legally. I do not believe.
But still
if that was just, especially if that was a girlfriend, like, I don't believe that it's right.
If you have access to a card and you're able to use it, he
gonna have you arrested.
No.
Well, not if you're on the card.
I'm saying if
not
it's
if
a
you're on the
girlfriend.
card.
If that's a girlfriend,
it doesn't matter. If you're an
guy
authorized user on the card.
We do not condone.
I wouldn't do it. You know me, I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't, but I'd be like, girl, give me the card.
Do it. Give me the card.
Right.
I'll do it.
I'll do it.
I wouldn't do it only because I do believe that karma comes for people when it's ready, and you don't need to be that person's karma.
But karma gonna know that he cheated, and karma gonna know.
They gonna hit him. You're like, I am the karma.
She's me. Karma. She's like,
I am the karma. I do think that it's toxic because it's obviously promoting, I've had really bad things happen to me, as you both know. Things that most people would have been like, and you didn't burn up all his stuff. You didn't, things really, really bad things that only you see in Lifetime movies. The type of thing that happened to me. Literally, people like, you could write a book. And you know what? I never damaged any of his possessions. Yep. I never did anything like that. I just packed up the stuff and was like, change the locks.
That had nothing to do with me because I had different ideas. I had different plans.
And I had access to money that I didn't take advantage of. I had access to an account. Right. That I could have been like, well, let me just go and wipe it out. I didn't do any of that. I don't believe in that. I don't think that that's right. Yeah. Of course, your lower self, the inner self is like, should have wiped it out. Should have took it all.
Oh, let me tell you something. Whenever my mom and dad would fight,
what did Michelle Obama say?
It would be a race to the bank.
No way.
Oh my gosh! One day, my mom literally
ripped
that's
where
my
this
daddy.
Is coming from. It's coming from your childhood.
Oh, what?
My mom ripped my daddy's pants because that's just. It's so funny because one time my sister, her husband, she went to the bank. He was like, what are you doing? She's like, I don't know. I just.
She just went to the bank. It was just. So wait, when they would go to the bank, they'd be doing what? Withdrawing as much money as they could?
No, cleaning that bitch out.
Shut up.
They had a joint account.
Over a fight?
Oh, yeah.
So it'd be like, now you have nothing and I got all the money?
And one time my dad had literally wiped out the account.
No.
Literally.
So your mom learned. So then the next time
it used to be a race to. They would fight.
So then when they'd make up, they'd put the money back.
Yeah, the money always went back.
How many times did you see this?
I don't know. I just remember one time my mom ripping my dad's. She tried to rip his to pull his pocket, and the whole polyester pant ripped out. It's like a Magic Mike show. We're all like,
to keep him from running to the bank.
I don't know. I think she was trying to get his wallet.
Wow.
No, but this is the funny part. The next day he went to church and did a testimony at the pants.
What was his testimony though? Was it
about how volatile? He said, y'all think the sisters.
He went to church to tell on your mama?
He went to church with the kids, and she knew he was going to do it. So she we all were so embarrassed. He was like, you see my pants?
No.
Listen, we all were at church the next Sunday like nothing happened.
Like nothing happened.
We used to live at church.
So he basically told the whole congregation your mama's business, and she didn't go that day.
Listen.
And then when everybody showed up the next week, it was like nothing happened.
It was like, it was just another day.
All right, so viewers, you see the example that you set in your relationships is going to affect your children and the way that they think for the rest of their lives.
And just know that if you mess with Dee Dee and you mess up, she going to take your wallet.
No,
and your pants.
She did not take the wallet. He gave her a card.
Oh,
she had access to the card in the song.
I'm talking about how your mama was reaching for the wallet.
Okay, so we got to vote for the sake of the episode.
Not toxic for me.
Toxic for sure.
She said she paid all the bills late too. That's a shame. That's toxic. And she said it's a shame we have to play these games.
He did it. He made the choice.
You the tiebreaker, Aisha.
Yeah, that's toxic.
Yeah.
Toxic.
It is super
Stamp
toxic.
it.
You're your own best friend.
Right, it's super toxic.
All right, y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode as much as we did. We want you to
comment, and subscribe.
And follow. And if any of you
have any type of sponsorship opportunities, please let us know. If you guys want to incorporate any of your branding, it is
advertised on the show.
Yes. Email us
to be official sponsor of the podcast.
Right. Email us at toxicsynonymouspodcast@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you guys. Meeting adjourned. Over and out.